Hey, welcome to Fix It for Josh's Sake. Today we're going to work on this 1973 Arctic Cat Lynx. Same platform as the Puma. And right now, we are going to be taking this clutch off right here. This is a Comet Duster 94C clutch. And that clutch, as I get in there better, it's revving out a little bit. It's actually engaging on the belt a little too low in the RPM. So we're going to take it off and put a different clutch on. So come along with me as we fix it for Josh's sake. In order to get this clutch off, the first thing we got to do is come over here to the header. There is a linkage between the header and the muffler right here. And there's a couple of springs in there. I already popped those loose. Be careful. Those springs suck. They're really tight. Requires a little bit of a hook tool to get them off. But once you get those off, you can come back here, take your muffler out of there. And now we're going to be able to go in and take this bolt off. So here begins the controversy, because we're working on an Arctic Cat, right? Made in the USA, made in Minnesota. We love it. The thing is, this is a Kawasaki motor, and so the drive shaft in here has a metric bolt and thread. That is a 19 millimeter bolt socket that you're going to need to get this bolt out. Now, if you do have a 3/4, it'll work, but it's a little sloppy, and you do not want to round this head off. So I highly recommend grabbing your 19 and busting this loose. This is traditional lefty-loosey when we're pulling this bolt out. Getting this clutch off with that bolt right there is a bit of a trick, because this clutch wants to spin free if you have a good motor functioning well. Even with the spark plug in and your 120 psi of compression or whatever, this is still going to want to spin. So you really need to either do two things. Get yourself an impact driver and pop, pop, that comes right off. Or number two is you take out your spark plug and you go get yourself some heavy nylon rope and you shove it in here and fill up this cavity so that the piston bottoms out on that rope and stops this clutch from spinning. Either way works. Enjoy the journey for deciding which one is best for you. Because I race this snowmobile, I have done a little modification on this clutch so that I could quickly do weight adjustments and get myself different RPM ratios. And the way I did that is when you take this face off, oh, there goes some pucks. That's supposed to happen. That's a part of the process. Is I actually filed this slot. I filed that slot just a little bit to open it up so that it easily slides on to the grooves that you can see right in there. Now, when you get these clutches stock, that is not filed, and they are very tight. Watch my other video. I posted it probably 2 videos back on how to get this face off in a little bit easier process. But we're going to keep moving on here. All right, when the faceplate's off, we've got 6 pucks in here for this particular clutch. I'm running 23 milligrams on these. That is actually too heavy for this clutch with, let's see. Oh yeah, the orange spring. So I probably need to have a yellow spring in here to give myself better pressure and to slow down how fast this clutch engages. So the next thing we're going to be doing is driving a bolt into here. It's going to press into the crankshaft of the motor and pop the back face of this clutch off. But before we do that, we got to get this belt off. So what you do is you pull up on this with all the mustard you got and roll this belt up over top of the inside edge of your secondary clutch. A lot of times this belt is pinched pretty hard by the 2 sheaves of this clutch. So all you got to do is just grab one hand on this side, one hand on that side, push the inside to the left, push the outside to the right. This thing will rotate and allow this belt to fall in and loosen. So you grab like this and get your hand under there, and then it spins like that, and that loosens the sheath and allows that belt to come loose so that we can roll it over top of this edge. Now you got to have your snowmobile up on a rack of some sort so that the track can rotate, so the chain can rotate, everything can come around so you can walk this belt off. And now we're good. Now that we've got this belt out of the way and we're looking at the clutch right here, if you do need to fully take a clutch off, you need to get yourself either a clutch puller by Comet, or you can take a bolt and you can grind the threads down. I just put this in my drill press and took my little grinder and knocked the threads off. The reason why I did that is because this needs to go inside of here, and it needs to press into the center of the crank of this motor. And then once you push this in here, which I'm not going to press it in there all the way because we're not taking this face off, then you take your bolt that matches the threads of the face of this clutch, and you thread this in, use your impact driver, and it'll pop that face right off. Now, because we're going after increasing RPMs, I'm leaving my back plate, and I am now changing the weights and the faceplate of this clutch to give me a higher engagement of RPMs. The next thing I want to show you is get yourself a little file like this, both a round one and a flat one, and that's how you'll be able to file this inner part here and clean it up. Mine's pretty shiny now, nice and smooth, and what that does is it allows me to come over here and press this on a lot more easily. Now, it's snug, as it should be. Do not round this out to the point where this is sloppy, because we need the face of this clutch to be solid. But it is a lot more easy to push on and pull off now than it was 10 minutes ago. Now, to revisit the details of where I'm at right here, this clutch face comes off like this. We have the orange spring. We're going to get rid of the orange spring. We are now going to put the yellow spring on. You can notice the yellow spring is a little bit taller. The yellow spring does create more pressure. Therefore, it's going to create a higher RPM engagement. Once that's on there, then we put the sheath on like this, and then we'll put the pucks in and put the face on and see how many RPMs this motor runs at with this clutch engaging like that. So the trick to this next part is we got the yellow spring here. We've got all the pucks set in here, and notice that they're offset, so it's like 2 space, 2 space, 2 space. The ribs all have to be pointing to the outside if you have a ribbed face like this. And then when you set it on there, it all sits down like this. This is the sandwich that we're going to put on there. If you tried to put just the back sheath on that rest of the clutch and then put your pucks in, they're going to fall all over the place, and you'll be so frustrated. So just do it like this, put it on like that, take this whole sandwich, put it on top of the thing like this, and now I'm going to grab my bolt and start tightening it into the shaft of the motor. So with that yellow spring, it's really a two-man job. You got to squeeze both hands on each side of the face of this clutch, and then when you're squeezing this together, someone needs to thread this bolt in. That's hand threaded in. Now we're going to run the impact driver and tighten that up. Now to put that back together, we grab our 19, put it on here. We're tightening this to, the spec is 20 to 30 foot-pounds. Do that as you would see fit. It's a little tricky when the motor's running free like this if you don't have a rope or something jammed in here. So maybe hold the clutch and see if you can get a little pop on your foot-pound wrench to get this bolt tightened properly. Once that bolt's in, you just got to roll your belt around the top of your secondary clutch, pop it in there, and put your muffler back on, connecting it to the header with the springs. I'm using pipe clamps like that. Now everything's in here. We're going to start this up and see what RPM this new puck and spring setup is engaging at. Okay, so we started it, and this clutch, we put the new face on, we put the yellow spring in, but we have the pucks that are slanted to match the rib here, and it is engaging way too early. And so it's spinning. The secondary right away at the track is spinning the whole time. So we are going to now go through the process of drilling out these weights to get this clutch to engage at a lower RPM. I'm going to show you how it's running right now so you can see what it's doing, give you a visual. Okay, so here we go. Let's see if it starts on the pull. This clutch is engaging. That right there. If I come over here and pull my brake, we kill the motor. That means that is engaged too much, and it doesn't allow this system to move smoothly. So now we're going to go through the process of lightening up those pucks so that this whole system engages at a higher RPM. So even though I filed the inner part of this faceplate to get that nice and loose, it is still pretty snug. What you do is you thread that bolt in there like that. Got myself an extension here. Got myself a hammer. And I'm going to give it a few whacks. The spring in there is pretty snug, and the idea is it'll pop that face off just with a few impacts here. So, even though I filed the inner part of this faceplate to get that nice and loose, it is still pretty snug. What you do is you thread that bolt in there like that. Got myself an extension here. Got myself a hammer. And I'm going to give it a few whacks. The spring in there is pretty snug, and the idea is it'll pop that face off just with a few impacts here. So we're back here. We open the clutch back up. The face is right here, and the pucks are right here. Let's find out how much they're weighing in at. So we turn on a little scale here. It's warming up for us. Okay. Let's go into kilograms, because I know that the other set we're at 23 kilograms. So let's see where this is at. We'll put it right in the middle. 26. Okay. So that one's 26. Grab another one. 26. They're heavy. Grab another one. 26. Okay, I see a repetition. I'm going to drill these out, drop off. I'm going to go down to 22 kilograms on these and put them back in and see what happens. So the way this works is every one of these pucks has a hole in the center of them. And so I'm grabbing a 3/16 inch bit. I'm going to drill that center out a little bit bigger. I'll do that on all of them. We'll weigh them and see if we can get somewhere below 26 kilograms, and then we'll get back to you. Sometimes you work on something, you think you know what you're doing, and you find out you're totally chasing the wrong thing. So here's my ribbed clutch cover on this Comet Duster 94C. These are the pucks. Drilled them out, put it on the machine over here, and it didn't do much. Drill them out again, drill them out again, drill them out again. We are at 21.5 kilograms. Grams, we're at grams. And it still would not let the clutch engage at a high enough RPM. And then that's when I started measuring how this face rests like this through the center hole down to the other side where we are grabbing on the belt. And ironically, no matter what I've done to adjust things, this ribbed faced clutch sitting on this sheath is 4 millimeters taller than the other smooth face clutch, and that can cause some real problems, let me tell you. So we're back here at the sled, and there's the belt I've been running this whole season as I've been racing, and this is the smooth face Comet Duster clutch I've been using. This was running, these are 23 gram pucks. So what I ended up doing was going from the orange spring that was in here to the yellow spring, and then from the yellow spring I went to a white spring. I have a white spring in here right now. That means there is 99 pounds of back pressure on this sheath before we let this belt engage. And it sounds pretty good. It sounds better. I'm a little disappointed because I really wanted to put that ribbed face on here. The only way I can think of being able to put this ribbed face clutch on is if I go get a different belt that is thinner to allow that 4 millimeters. I mean, my goodness, it's not much. It's like that much, but it's enough to make sure this belt is always engaged with a rib-faced Comet Duster versus this one letting it slip and roll as it needs to while it's idling. So it's always fun to hear the machine run, right? Let's give this a pull and see what happens here. Well, there you have it. What started out to seem like a pretty simple project here on this clutch ended up teaching me a lot. I did not realize that the spacing on the drive shaft or between the sheaths of a ribbed Comet Duster 94C and a smooth face Comet Duster 94C is different. Well, now we know, and no matter how much you adjust the weights, the springs, whatever, you're still going to have to get a different belt to accommodate for the different clutch. So you can learn from me, as I'm going to go out to the racetrack today with my smooth face clutch on here, but with a stiffer spring to give me a higher RPM engagement, just like I wanted. We're going to go see how this race happens tonight. Thanks for watching. Fix It for Josh's sake.